Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unmedicated Disaster. I am Danielle,
And my name's Al.
and we are here today to try to take a break from everything else that's going on in the world right now. Um, we don't want to diminish anything that's happening in the world. We don't want to make it seem like we don't care, but we are both people who care very, very much about a whole bunch of things, and it's been a little overwhelming lately.
Yeah.
So for this time out, we've decided we're just going to decide if people are assholes. I'm sure everybody on the internet knows Reddit. Am I the asshole or am I the butt face?
I love Reddit.
Yeah. Reddit is a blessing and a curse, I feel like, to humanity. Um, so Elle and I each went and selected a few topics, and we're going to bounce them off each other and see what the other person thinks.
Yeah.
If they agree, if we don't agree, we'll go from there.
We're going to find out because, even though we have a lot of similarities, there's a few opinions that might not be too different, but it's never exactly the same. There's just a slight difference in opinion sometimes.
Wait, because our backgrounds are very different. Obviously he's a man, I'm a woman.
And culture as well.
Yeah, cultures where he's not white and I glow in the dark. So, you know, we'll see what kind of perspectives we have, where we match, where we don't, and we'll see if we come out friends on the other end of it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't think any of these topics are
Yeah.
are serious enough where that would be an issue.
But yeah, feel free to reach out to us if you agree or disagree with our opinions to some of these posts. It's always fun to listen to other people and see what they have to say. So,
And then judge them for it.
yeah.
We firmly believe that everybody is entitled to their own opinion
Yes.
on whatever topic. But acknowledging that you have the right to an opinion doesn't mean that we're going to agree with it, necessarily respect it, or not judge you for it. Because that's the fun of having an opinion and putting it out there for the world to see. And we are fully okay with also being judged for our opinions.
I get judged all the time for my
Yeah,
opinions.
and
So.
also sometimes being judged isn't bad because it doesn't automatically mean it was a bad judgment. Maybe somebody judged you and said, "Oh, this guy's really great."
I've never been judged in a good way.
Yes, you have.
When?
I mean, I judged you and I'm like, "Oh, I like this guy."
You literally judged me the second you saw me just because I wasn't
Yes.
white.
Oh, we're coming back to this again. Al, that is not why I judged you.
But yeah, no, we definitely enjoyed doing Am I the Asshole from Reddit because I remember there was one that we spoke about a while ago and it had something to do with urine. And
Yeah.
I wish I could find that one because while we were
Oh,
talking.
I have it saved.
You have it saved? Okay, because I don't think we fully agreed on that. There was some slight, not 100% difference, just a slight difference in two.
Oh, yeah. I think the only place. So if you, I'll just summarize this as quick as possible. It was an "Am I the asshole for refusing to go to a wedding if my husband wasn't invited?" And it turned out the reason the husband wasn't invited was because he has a pee-pee kink where he
Ugh.
likes to urinate himself in public and enjoys the shame he receives for that.
Ugh.
And that's
That's
why
so cringy just listening to it.
that's why this person was not invited to the wedding. Ultimately, it did actually turn out. I don't know if I told you this because I saw the follow up.
Right.
The whole reason the story was posted on Reddit in the first place was because of the embarrassment and the shaming he would get. So that was also part of his kink because he had a like a degradation and a public shaming kink. And I think where we differed was that you're like, this is top to bottom, no. And where I was trying to be a little more understanding, it's like,
No. There was some understanding. It was just there's a time and place for everything.
exactly.
And I just think that there's some fetishes that you shouldn't perform in public. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. Because that's kind of where I was. It's like you know what, your kinks, what you're into, that's your business. Go right ahead. But the fact that this man does this in public to people, like sometimes he doesn't even know, that is involving somebody in your kink
Fetish.
that is non-consensual. Those people did not consent to that. And that is a whole bunch of not okay.
Yeah.
Um So yeah, obviously we had talked about that one previously. We're on the same page there. Um, yeah, that guy should not be invited to that wedding or any function ever.
Yeah.
Not to say that well, I'm not shaming anybody for having a kink or a preference or whatever.
I'm
As
the
long as
one who
it's
kink shames here.
as long as it is safe, sane, and consensual, we're fine. But
Allegedly.
this is not it's not even hygienic. It's definitely not consensual.
All right.
Um
So
so yeah, we're not cool with that at all.
my opinion for you is,
Uh-oh.
does Halloween count as an excuse?
What do you mean?
I was in New York City one Halloween and a dude passed by completely from head to toe dressed in, I think it was like
Like latex?
latex. I mean, squeaking the entire street through, like
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
mask, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, pretty sure that's not a Halloween costume. I don't think you can find that at Party City. Just saying.
I mean, you can buy some weird stuff at Halloween stores.
I know, but not that.
I mean, I don't.
I
I
feel
guess
like that
was
was
he?
a fetish.
But was he fully covered?
Oh yeah.
Fully covered and wasn't engaging in any acts, right?
No, but
And it was Halloween.
it was Halloween.
I mean, I feel like that's a very fine line. Like, I wouldn't say wear your latex or your leather daddy attire to the Walmart.
Don't get me wrong. In New York City, it doesn't have to be Halloween for you to experience
Yeah,
freaky
it's.
shit.
I mean, I feel like it's, especially it being Halloween. I feel like people dress a lot of strange ways on Halloween.
Mhm.
I know I have, but I feel like it being on Halloween night kind of, and they weren't engaged any type of act. It was he was just walking down the street.
I mean, that's all I
If that's all you saw.
It's
Now,
just
if he was like being led around by a leash on all fours and somebody was like spanking his hiney as he went down the street, that might be a bit much.
just
But
a bit,
huh?
just
A
bit?
little, like a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And I know there are some occasions and some settings where it's understood that you may see things like that. In that case, I don't think Halloween would be appropriate, but you know, so I'm sure we're going to spend more time talking about that sort of thing. But that was the "Am I the asshole?" post that kind of inspired us to sit down and say, okay, what else can we talk about that isn't a man peeing himself in public? So we did went scroll through and found some other topics that we're going to go across. I know Al actually went to Reddit itself. I visited my trusty Instagram page. Couple accounts I looked at was Toxic Reddit, Reddit Fish Bluefish, and Reddit Updates. So that's where I got mine. Full credit to them for nicely cropping those for me.
So here's the topic for this. Am I the asshole? And sometimes, like Danielle let me know, the topics aren't necessarily truthful. You know,
Yeah, unreliable narrators.
pretty much. But the topic for this one is: am I the asshole for letting my husband do all these emasculating things for me? Now, again, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but already,
I already want to know who said they're emasculating. I don't even care what they are. I want to know who called them emasculating.
yeah,
But we'll get to that, I'm sure.
yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like the second you say, "Oh, my husband is doing all this emasculating things," like, like, I can't picture in today's day and age, in this progressive world that we're trying to live in, because it's not. What do you consider emasculating? Because I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Well, that's why I think the context of what it is and who referred to it as emasculating, because it's things like
A guy.
a guy. Yeah, well, a guy could be like, "Oh, your wife makes you do the cooking. You know, isn't that her job?" Or your wife makes you do the laundry. Yeah, that kind of thing.
That's
So
kind of trigger for me.
I know how you feel about that. But all right, let's hear
But
it.
yeah, so it says, "Hi there, Redditors. Please help me out here. So the other day, my good friend and her husband came over to my house to have dinner with me. She's 31, her husband's also 31. We had an enjoyable time talking, and they loved the food. The subject came to how, uh, oh, that's an awful sentence, I think. The subject came to how to make this particular dish. I'm not a good cook at all, and my husband has always been the one to cook the meals as he loves to cook." Which,
Sounds like somebody we know, Al.
yeah. he grew up in a family that all cooks together. So I told him that my husband cooked and I wasn't sure. This is where it went weird. My friend and her husband starting started laughing and asking if we were serious about me not being a good cook and that my husband is actually the housewife of the relationship doing all the cooking. I thought they were joking and said, "So what? My husband cuts my nails and holds my girly handbag when we go shopping. Is that not allowed also?" My friend's husband went ballistic and told my husband off for allowing me to emasculate and control him like that.
When you hold my purse for me, when I say, "Hey, Al, can you hold this?" Do you feel like less of a man?
No, I don't like carrying shit.
But yeah, like if I say, "Hey, can you hang on to this for a second for me?"
There you go, Karen.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think you would feel like, "Oh, she trusted me to
I've
hold
done it.
this."
I've done it for so many people.
Yeah, it's like
That's it.
anyway.
And I mean, what are you gonna judge me for having a Gucci bag? Look at me. Do I look like I own a Gucci bag?
I just for the record, I also do not own a Gucci bag. I am
As an example.
I'm a little bougie, but I'm not that level of bougie. Like,
So yeah, saying that he would never do those things and he knows his place in their relationship.
oh
They both
boy.
were angry at me and left straight away. Now they keep messaging my husband and telling him to divorce me. Yeah,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know about you, but holding a fucking purse does not make you any less of a man.
Yeah, like
It's called doing your fucking wife a favor.
yeah, isn't that wild? Like I'm sorry, but the second any time women too, but especially a man when they say things like, "Oh, like my wife knows her place." I mean, can we just like a huge red flag right about here? Because what is that even supposed to be? Oh yeah, she's supposed to be in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant 24/7. Yeah. Not
Now,
no.
now here's the thing. I come from a family that, still back in the day, not too long ago, they still had their, a woman cooks, clean,
Mhm.
a guy goes out and works. But even they have evolved over time, and there's no specific a woman does this, a guy does that. You know, for example, like my
And
mother taught me to cook and to clean, and she says, "You better take care of yourself because ain't nobody else gonna take care of you
and
until you find someone." And I said, "I'll just learn myself, and then I don't have to depend on anybody. How about that?"
there you go. And also in relationships where you may have come to an agreement where, maybe the the wife prefers to cook and prefers to do the cleaning. And so they decide that, the husband will do the laundry, the yard work, and that's just what they prefer after a conversation, not an expectation that you're the woman, you do this, you're the man, you do that.
Right. Like it's not. I don't think it's unheard of if I like the cooking. I like cooking more than say my significant other. I would do every meal, and she enjoyed working in the yard. She enjoyed planting flowers and everything, and she'd rather cut the grass and make everything look how she wants it to.
Yeah.
That's fine. Cutting the grass isn't necessarily a guy's job, and cooking isn't necessarily a woman's job either.
I mean, frankly, I do not enjoy cutting the grass. And when I say like, oh, I wish I had somebody to do that, I don't care if it's a man, a woman, I don't care. I just want somebody to cut the grass for me. And I know that's not the point, but like I don't like cutting the grass. So if anybody wants to come and cut my grass, I'll I'll pay.
It's not going to be me.
But I not cash, like it'll have to be a barter system.
Is
It's
that
fine.
legal?
Yeah, like I can give them like a sandwich and they can cut my grass. No?
But yeah,
But yeah, no, this guy is an absolute dick. And
and
his wife, like the friends there.
and the fact that it bothers him so much that he has the audacity
Uh, Men with
to
the audacity. Wow, who would have thunk it?
to tell another man you should dump your wife because
Well,
she makes you hold their purse.
I this is a great example of the difference between toxic masculinity and masculinity. Because the man who, does the cooking and is just we're going to make some assumptions here, but as a good husband does the cooking because his wife doesn't prefer to do that. Um, they have that all figured out. that doesn't make him less of a man. But then you have the man who's like thumping his chest with my wife knows her place and you need to divorce your wife because she doesn't treat you like a man. That is toxic masculinity. And he is projecting his own insecurities onto this other man who has done nothing wrong.
So yeah. So is this lady the asshole?
Is she? No.
Absolutely not.
No. No, but like, if these are their friends, this is why I don't have so many friends, because people suck.
If I were the husband, I'd be uh extremely offended.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
if my wife told me, it was like, oh yeah, one of my friends, because I think it's her friend, I don't know, but if it's his friend, either way, you're disrespecting me and my wife like that. Like,
Yeah.
how we live our lives is none of your fucking business. And if you don't want to hold a purse, that's fine. Where I'm from, it's also unlucky and um like a bad
Oh, to put your purse on the
to
ground?
put your purse on the
Hmm.
ground. So they don't do it. They'd rather have someone hold it.
Yeah. It's also just common courtesy.
No, apparently not.
Like, I mean, I would think it is. Like, I guess I wouldn't. And it's also, well, I'm gonna kind of do an aside here. This is obviously, we're talking about couples where it's a man and a woman. These dynamics can exist in couples where it's two women or two men or
You think
whatever.
so?
Oh yeah, because you always have the time where, oh well, like, aren't you supposed to be the man in the relationship? And try to force these stereotypical gender roles on same-sex couples, and it's like doubly infuriating because it's like, just because somebody has shorter hair and wears flannel doesn't make them the man, and they have to do man things. But so
But
this
yeah.
can apply, to everybody. This just happens to be two apparently heterosexual couples.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately the OP is not the asshole, but their friend sure are.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like the man, her husband
Man. Oh,
should
the husband up.
definitely like speak out and be like, "Hey, I know you're my wife's friend, but fuck you." You
Yeah,
know?
because that's just so uncalled for. I can't imagine walking into somebody's house and just insulting them like that.
Yeah. And so, if you think differently, if you think, there's just I'm not even gonna say it because I'll just get mad.
Okay. All right. So now I get to give you one. And I tried to pick ones that, like, on the surface, you might be like, okay, this is kind of cut and dry. But, like, I know you have some interesting takes on things. So I'm just going to tee these up and see where it goes.
All right. What's the subject?
All right. So my title on this one is, Am I the asshole for honestly telling my girlfriend what I would change about her? You got something to say over there, Al?
No, no, I have nothing to say yet.
All right. So let's see here. I don't think this gives us ages or anything here.
Okay.
So we're just going to go with it. Okay. I watched a TikTok where a couple asked each other what they would change about each other, and they both said nothing. They're both perfect and they love each other very much, etc. So I thought, let me try this with my girlfriend, without filming, of course. She said, I wouldn't change anything about you. Maybe I would make you less anxious about everyday stuff so you wouldn't suffer. It's true, I tend to be very anxious and obsessive compulsive sometimes, but I'm dealing with it. Then she asked me what I would change about her. I told her I would like her to have her old body back, meaning before the pandemic when she was more muscular and a little bit thinner. I also told her she could be less hairy in some areas, like her face and arms, and I wish her hair was more cared for. I wouldn't change anything fundamental about her appearance, maybe make her legs a little bit thinner, but all my requests are very much achievable with a little effort. She didn't seem to appreciate my comments. Her expression changed and she locked herself in her room without saying anything. We slept on different beds, and the next day she told me something very hurtful. She said, I don't think that your appearance is perfect either. There are some issues, but I love you enough not to pester you about them. When I asked her what she meant, she replied that she wished I followed her skincare advice to get rid of my acne and that I would work out with her more. I told her the difference is that I was honest and she lied. She didn't say anything, but it was obvious that she had been crying the whole night. She went to her sister's house and hasn't been responding to my messages. So am I the asshole for being honest?
Sir, you were the asshole since the fucking title ended. Oh God. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess most of these Reddit things are gonna be about men being fucking
I don't
stupid.
know if that would be intentional, but sometimes certain groups of people just like walk into things and it tends to be men stupid on the internet, so be it.
Wow. All right. So Christ.
I mean, but was he the asshole for being
I
honest?
uh yes. Yes, you were.
And-
Here's the thing. Even if you're in a relationship, would you change something about somebody? Yes. She approached it the correct way.
yeah,
I see this bothers you. I would change it so it didn't bother you.
yes. To
That
make
is something that I can, you
it's
know,
coming from a good place.
refer to because that is also something that I felt. In past relationships, I'd be like, damn, I wish this wouldn't happen, or I wish she was more so this wouldn't, whatever. But I'm trying to keep my composure.
Al's rage is like bubbling right below the surface because I know he wants to find this guy.
I do. I really do. No,
And you know what? We are, I guess, yeah, did it mention if it was a guy? I mean, we're assuming it's a guy, but
I mean, it sounds like a guy. So
I would be hard pressed. I mean, I gotta be honest, I don't know if I could find a woman.
what's the saying? If it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck, it's
Hmm.
a fucking man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And
God.
I do have an update to this one after you're done, though. So,
I hope the update is, hey, she left me. Wow, what a shocker. Oh man, women, and I know I'm probably gonna get some bad feedback from this, but women need to stand up for themselves a little more, and not
oh
let
yeah, we're gonna.
these.
That is a whole conversation that I don't think it's appropriate for this thing.
I
But
just, I don't know. Like if I was in, say, the roles were reversed, and I had this conversation with, a girl, and she was like, "Yeah, I would change all this about you," and I'd be like, "Bye." That's it. Like, there's no
yeah,
like, I'm not gonna feel sorry for this. I'm not gonna feel like, oh, we've dated for 3 years. I don't give a fuck after what you just said. Like, mm,
and
mm.
I feel like just based on when she did come clean, we'll say, and talk about the things she would change about
She
this,
came clean, and her first thing is these things don't bother me because
because I love you as a person. But the way she described that this person is picking, now we have to remember in context, this assumed man is picking on her appearance, that she needs to go to the gym more, that she needs to like not be hairy, she needs to take better care of her hair. And then he comes out
Oh,
and flat out
oh
says,
no, remind you, she wishes he would go to the
well,
gym
no,
as
that's
much
what
as
I'm going
she
to say.
did.
So when she did finally say, okay, he doesn't go to the gym, he doesn't take care of him, and I know acne can be caused by a lot of things, but he has these issues that he is doing nothing to better.
No, because she offered him a solution.
Yeah,
So
and he's just
even if the
refusing to take it.
even if the acne was caused by several other
Yeah.
issues,
It doesn't
they
sound
could have
like
at
it's a
least
yeah.
zeroed out that, okay, acne treatment is not working. It's definitely something else. But you didn't even bother to see
Yeah.
if that was the case.
And that's like where she, offered proactive solutions. Not, the actual proactive because this isn't sponsored. But
But if you
no,
want to sponsor me,
God. Uh, but she offered solutions for these issues and he just did not take them and then had the audacity to be like, yeah, so I think you're fat and you don't take care of yourself. And that's not nice.
I want to have that made up book cover of Harry Potter, where
Harry
it's Harry
Potter and the
Potter and the
audacity
audacity
of
of this
that
bitch,
bitch.
just so we could just lift it and
Um,
be like, you should read this.
yeah, whoever came up with that faux Harry Potter
That's
cover,
fucking beautiful.
I say that at least 3 times a week, and I thank you because it's hilarious to me every time I think about
Yeah.
it. But yeah, why are men?
There's a difference between being truthful, and just being a complete and total dickhead,
Yeah.
which I think is what this guy was. No offense to him. No, actually, no, I do mean to offend you. Just kidding. Um,
Well, there's a comment somebody left to this post, and it was, you're the asshole, obviously. It says you saw an opportunity to confront your girlfriend about things you're not attracted to under the guise of, oh, look, this is fun and sweet. You tricked her and made her feel like shit, which is exactly what this guy did.
yeah.
And he's an awful person. Like, I don't,
And I feel sorry for this dude because eventually he's gonna, unfortunately, get married one
yeah,
day.
hopefully not. Like, I feel like men, like, greatly overvalue themselves on, like, the open market. Cause like, no, nobody. This is not
Attractive.
a knight in shining armor that's coming to like sweep a woman off her feet. Clearly,
Um, yeah, no. I'd hate to break the news to him that bodies change over time, and she's not always gonna have that crystal clean and smooth skin, and neither are you, buddy. Neither are
well,
you.
and like the fact that he said like, oh, she just needs to tone this or like go back to the. You just know this woman is probably way out of his league, and he feels like maybe making her feel bad about herself will keep her from ever leaving him.
If
But,
you're still in this relationship and you've somehow reached this podcast, and this is about you, I really pray
well,
that you find a man that actually gives a fuck about you and cares for you.
it's like, girl, you deserve better. Do you want the official update?
Sure.
The update. I get it. I'm the asshole. I called and profusely apologized, but she said she would think of my comments every time I look at her, and it's something she'll never forget. My girlfriend's my girlfriend of 4 years broke up with me, and now I see why. Thank you for your comments. Aw, was that a growing,
The
like a
sad part
personal
is that
growth
it
moment?
took him to do that stupid shit.
Yeah. But not even just to do it, to have strangers on the internet be like, "Yeah, bro, you're the asshole." Like
Oh,
how do you say those things and think it's okay? Especially after was that nice in hers, you know? I can't. But what would you change about me if you were given the opportunity?
about you
Oh yeah.
specifically?
We're about to get deep here. He's thinking
We're
too
about to
much.
get deep. Yeah.
He's thinking too much.
Um.
But it's okay cuz I'm going to give it right back to him.
Yeah. I know. No. If I were to change anything about you, um, here's one thing.
Oh no.
This might come as insulting, but that's okay.
I
I
don't know.
deserve
I
it.
might
If
take this I
if
might take it
if I
back.
do something, I deserve it. So I
Oh,
mean, let me hear it.
okay.
But I wish you wouldn't care that much about people because you care a lot about different kinds of people, and you put yourself in situations that would cause you so much stress. And I was just like, I just look at you and I'd be like, who gives a fuck? Who nobody cares. Just leave it, just don't worry about them. You know? But it's true, like even at work where we used to work together, you would start worrying about this person. I'd be like, just who cares? Nobody cares. Okay? Let them be. If they kill themselves the next day, oh
Oh my
I'm
god.
kidding.
Al!
I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. Like,
Oh my
like if
god.
something happened, whatever, you have to take care of yourself first, and you put a lot of people in front of you, um, and I feel like it's caused you a lot of stress.
I'm fine.
Am I wrong?
I'm fine.
I'm right.
I mean, I can explain why I am that way, but that's like
I am sure you can, but
cuz it's
is
one
it
of the many
healthy?
reasons we need well, I know I need therapy,
So
which we
yeah,
can't afford, so we have a
so
podcast.
what would you change about me?
What would I change about you? Just one thing.
I mean, I
Let me
know
see
the
if I
list
can
is long, but
but it's none of the things that you think. I I I wish that I could convince you to see yourself the way that other people, especially myself, see you.
yeah, yeah.
Cuz
I mean, I've been trying. It's
have
taken
you? Like I feel like
it's
you
taken
have
more than
gotten a
five
little
years,
you've
but
gotten a little better,
I have
but
gotten a little better. But trust me, I'm not as bad as when I was like in college. Ooh,
yeah.
yeah. When I was in college, yeah.
Yeah. But like and I
Like if
feel
I could go and walk around with a paper bag on my head, I would have 100% done that. You know, I won't because I'll probably get shot.
oh my
But
god.
yeah,
Yeah. And like I feel like that would trickle down to like a bunch of other things, none of which are anything bad. They're all like those little nice things. Like, "Oh, I just want good great things for you." I I do.
right. Okay.
Anyway, so
So yeah,
that guy obviously
thank
is
God, thank God
the asshole.
she dumped his ass. Right? She dumped him. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she dumped him.
Good for her.
And I feel like just women, please listen. If you're dating a man, you can do better. You always.
The end. No explanation needed.
You can do better.
So, uh, here's another one. The title goes, "Am I the asshole for poisoning my son by telling him that he doesn't meet his mom.
I feel like I'm gonna need all of the context on this one
You think so?
like at the title, like the word usage, you're like, yeah, you sound like the asshole. But again, I feel like the use of the word poisoning, who's saying that this person is poisoning their son?
Well,
So
we'll
so
see.
let's see.
So this is from a guy's perspective again. So my ex-wife, 36, he's 35, married in 2010. Had our child 9 months. After giving birth, she started seeing a friend of mine. We divorced, they married, and have 2 kids now. Right, so there goes the relationship. I've been single. I've been a single dad since, and she is still active in our son's life. She visits 2 times a week, which is really rare. Usually, the mom gets custody of the son,
Hmm.
and the dad visits every other week for
Yeah,
the
so
weekend or
I
something.
already have questions there because I'm
Why did
not.
he get
Yeah.
custody of the son? Question. My son has never gone to her house. She's tried, but he doesn't want to.
Hmm.
My son gets hurt every time she comes and leaves after 2 hours because he would like her to stay a little longer. The last time my son started crying after she left, and I comforted him because he was wondering why his mom didn't love him and does love his half siblings.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I mean, I feel like if the child's already speaking his
And
mind,
and how old's the child? Like 10, 11?
oof.
They got married in 2010, did you say?
I think he's turning 10 now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 2010, around
Yeah,
there's when they
so
had their
old
kids.
enough to know what's going on.
So this is a quote from him. It says, "Don't worry, Starlight.
Guessing that's
Does,
his nickname.
would you really nickname your kid Starlight?
Why not?
Okay. Um, you have me. I love you more than life itself. No human. I know no human is capable of loving the way I love you. Your siblings will never be loved the way you are. You don't need her." That drew a big smile on my boy's face.
I mean, that was a nice thing to say.
Okay. My son will turn 10 this April, and I will throw a party. She called him to let my son know she will be bringing the cake, and my son replied, "You could just send it, Mom. Don't you?" And she asked, "Don't you want me there?" And he said, "My dad is right. No one needs you, not even I," and hung up on the mom. That's a little rude on the kid's behalf.
Rude, but I mean, it's because.
Even if you don't like your parent, you shouldn't just hang up on them, especially when you're 10 years old at
Oh,
that
see,
age.
10 years old is a little young, but I am a firm believer in cut out your toxic relatives.
Right, right. No, no.
But
Don't
10
get me
years old,
wrong.
yeah, it's a
At
little.
10 years old,
It's
that's
kind
a
of bad
little rude.
manners. Yeah.
She called me furious. She said, "I've been poisoning my son against her. I've been brainwashing him." She also said she'll come to the party. I wanted or not. I never said she couldn't because this is her child, and the fact that she doesn't live with him doesn't make her love any less. My mom said I should have never said since a child always needs their mom. My ex mother in law called me the asshole for attempting to destroy their relationship by pushing all of those crazy ideas, and even accused me of using my son as a weapon to remind her what she did in the past. She even throws the cliche phrase, "grow up." So, am I the asshole here?
So I just want to recap. They got separated because the mom started dating the dad's friend, so cheating on the dad. Moved out, got married to this other guy. Only sees this kid 2 days a week, right?
Yeah,
Now has other kids with the affair partner,
right.
you know.
But you, but
And
you have two times a week you visit your child and you spend
now
two
2 hours. Yeah, so
hours.
that's what the kid. Yeah, the kid doesn't even go to her house.
No, she comes
She
to
comes
him
and
and
only
spends like
two
2 hours
hours.
and then leaves.
And the kid is like, "Mommy, won't you stay longer?" And the mommy's like, "Bye." Like, yeah, this kid does not need that woman in his life because all this is gonna end up doing to this poor kid is literally he's gonna grow up thinking like he
Damaging
already
for the
is.
rest of his life,
Yeah.
basically.
Why didn't my mom love me? Why did my mom leave me to go make a better family? And all the mom is doing is reinforcing that.
Yeah.
She spends all this time with her new family. It basically is ignoring, this other kid.
Right.
If anything, I feel like and I can only base it on what's in the story, but I almost feel like the dad is being too kind in this situation,
You
like
think
with
so?
his words. Oh yeah. Because why does he have full custody? Like,
That's always a good question. Like,
because
did
it's,
she do anything?
did she do something? Did she decide I don't want anything to do with this kid anymore?
Right.
What is the reason? Because for the court to say, hey, no, the dad's gonna have full custody, it's almost unheard of.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that, it's really hard to balance one life, let alone two separate lives, where I'm married to this person, we have kids with this person, but I used to be married to that person, and I also have a kid over there. I get it. It's very hard to balance both of these things.
And that's why you shouldn't cheat on your husband.
Right, but 2 hours? And you shouldn't cheat on your
Yeah.
wife. It goes both
Oh,
ways,
for sure,
But
but for the story.
but 2 hours?
Yeah.
I feel like
There's
2 hours is just
something's not right there.
yeah.
And of course, that's not to say that single dads aren't amazing and can't take great care of their kids.
Yeah.
But just speaking with what is considered, the norm
Yeah.
for the mom to be so uninvolved in the kid's life, and then to wonder, oh, I don't understand why my kid feels this way about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair though, that isn't 100% in the right. I think as far as being a parent, you shouldn't let your kid speak to his mother, even if the mother isn't barely in his life. At 10 years old, a kid needs to learn to respect their parents.
I think there's a difference between respecting the parent and just in general not like being that rude. The kid hanging up on the mom,
That was rude.
that was rude.
And I feel like the
But
dad needs to correct the son, be like, you shouldn't do
I'm
that.
sure that,
Again,
again,
it is disrespectful. I
yeah.
mean,
But I
there's
think
not a
that
lot of
that's such a small thing. Like after what this kid has been put through by this mother,
right.
the kid hanging up on the mom, yes, completely rude. A 10-year-old kid should not be hanging up on people. There does need to be a level of respect because it is, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But for the mom to treat this kid this way, to barely pay him attention, to not welcome this child into her home, like how long have they been separated that this kid has never been to his mom's house? You
I
know?
mean, I think it was from the very get
Yeah,
go.
so almost 10 years and
Yeah.
this mom has not allowed her son into her home. Like I can't blame that kid for being upset. And yes, oh, you shouldn't have hung up, but that is that is splitting hairs. Um because the amount of hurt and damage that that woman has done to this kid is he's going to need a lot of therapy, like and like you laugh about it, but it's true.
The only reason why I speak about this is because, I went through something similar. Not at that young of an age, obviously. I was I was able to think for myself at the point that my parents separated. Um, and I do spend more time, even if I don't live with my mother. I spend more time, and I did spend more time with my mother than I did with my father after they separated. But at no point has my mother made me think a certain way of my dad. She's like cut and dry. Boom, this is what happened. We separated. Life is
Hmm.
like this. We're gonna struggle a little bit, but we're gonna move forward, and we're gonna be able to live a decent life.
No, for sure.
And there's times where my dad has called her and questioned her. It's like, none of my sons call me. You know, like trying to see if my mom has done
Well, if it's
anything in
not the
that sense.
consequences of your own actions.
No, but it's a thing where it's like, you know, my mother doesn't put any influence on us.
Oh,
She would call me and be like, "You need to call your dad.
mhm.
Your dad misses you guys. Your dad,
Well, and I
feels
think
left
that
out and stuff." But it's not my mother's influence. This is just
well, we
me and
also
my brother acting on our own.
but you also have to remember, like you said, you were older when this happened. You
My
could
little brother wasn't.
but now
He was around probably.
but did your brother ever come sobbing to your mom time and time again saying, "Why doesn't daddy love me? Why doesn't
I don't
daddy want to
know.
spend time with me?"
I don't know. I
But
don't.
that's an important
Yeah.
context thing. And we're talking about a 10-year-old kid who is looking at this man saying, "Why doesn't mommy love me? Why does mommy love her other kids more than me?
Yeah.
Why did mommy leave
Yeah.
me?" Why,
And I mean, like
and
our relationship wasn't that bad because my little brother would spend time, days even.
mhm.
He'll go on vacations with my dad. So,
Yeah, and that's yeah. And
there's a big
it's
difference there. But
oh, for sure. And like I got to be honest, like if I'm the parent in that situation and my child is crying at me going, "Why doesn't my mommy love me?" I'm
it's
going to
heartbreaking to
yeah,
see.
oh my god, yeah. And the fact that dad tried to reassure him, like, I love you so much. You're loved more than anybody in the world. And, you have me kind of thing is what he was saying. And you also have to, like, it's easy to say, well, he shouldn't have said anything bad about the mom. Yeah, okay, sure. But also, how emotional is this for him, too? Like, your child is heartbroken because their mother basically has abandoned them. And you just want to make them feel better, which
Yeah.
it did work. And I can't blame that kid for not
And
wanting anything to do with his
and
mom.
parents have to realize, kids are kids, but they remember this kind of stuff, and they might feel a certain way. They might speak up about it. They might not, but just because they might not speak about it, there's still something there probably.
Oh, for sure. Like, and I know it was a different situation because when my parents separated, I had a hand in that. Because if you listen to the first episode, my father had probably still does, had a horrific gambling problem.
Yeah.
And when enough was enough, I was the one to make the call to have him removed from the house. Because my mom was too torn up to do it, but she said that's what she wanted, so I did it. I was 21 at the time. My brother, I personally, he was 15. Personally, I think that's old enough to have known everything that, what was going on because I had known from a very young age, what the situation was. But my mom took the road of, we're not going to speak ill of him around your little brother because he needs to have a relationship with his father and this and that. And you shouldn't cut him out because he's your father too. If I saw that man dying on the side of the road, I'd probably stop to pee on him, but that's about it. So we've come to terms there, but my brother not being told the reality of the situations where what we dealt with, what he had done to us and to my brother that he didn't know about. Like my little brother, we never told him, now he knows now, but we never told him that when they were separating, when my mom said, "What are we going to do about custody or visitation for, him?" My father literally said, "I don't want anything to do with them," and signed his rights away without a second thought. So that unfortunately led my brother, to as my mom wouldn't tell him, to think that he was going to have a relationship with his father. That, if he kept texting or calling or saying, "Hey, you want to do this or do that," that someday his dad would say yes. And it never happened. So it's like, is it better to like pretend everything's okay and that, in this Reddit story that mommy wants to be around you or daddy in, my family's case, or is it better to be like, listen, here's the reality of the situation. Um,
When's a good time to break your child's heart? Basically, is what we're trying to get into. Like, when's a good
yeah.
time?
And I
Do we
feel
do it
like,
then and there, or do we leave it after a few years?
well, I feel like for the kid in this story, this 10-year-old,
Hmm.
his heart was broken, but I feel like his dad affirming that, I love you, I'm here for you, you don't have to worry about anybody else because I'm always going to love you. I feel like that was kind of putting that broken heart back together because
Yeah.
it did say that he was happier. Where like in my situation where my mother kind of almost led my brother on that, "Oh yeah, it's your dad, you should call your dad," kind of thing. Um, it led to a much more severe heartache down the road because then there's my brother, a grown adult, looking to get married, looking to start this life. And now he has finally realized that his dad's not going to be part of his life. His dad's not coming to the wedding. His dad's not doing anything for him. But he was strung along all those years.
Right.
So would it have been better for him to know at 15 as opposed to 25?
Have you ever asked him?
Here's the thing that also irreparably damaged my relationship with my brother because he always looked at me as I'm the reason he left because
Right.
I was the one who made the call. And since he was never told the situation, and that's still something that we have to deal with because it was years of, and then finally one time my mom exploded on him and was like, "Here's the reality." But at that point, my brother was almost 30.
Right.
He had been like
The damage has
protected.
already been done.
Yeah. And he had been fed this false narrative for so many years. Like, "Oh yeah, that's gonna be fine." And it's like I look at this story with this little kid with the dad saying, "This is, don't worry about her. You've got me, we're a team. I love you."
Right.
I feel like in that sense, like looking back on my own life, I kind of wish that's how it would have gone. Um, for my brother just to kind of get that reassurance and be told, "Listen, this is the situation."
Yeah.
And I wanted to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
mean,
think,
that's what my mom was. She
yeah,
was very honest with me. She's
yeah,
like, "It is what it is, kiddo.
But what benefit is it to like lie to your? Oh yeah, it's totally fine. Nah,
I think it comes from a good place. I think
it does.
it comes from like you're a child. You shouldn't have to experience these
Mhm.
things. The conclusion. I hope this kid gets therapy
Yeah,
because he gotta need it.
yeah. The kid, and like we touched on last episode, this is the kind of parent. Speaking of the mom, who they'll sit back and wonder why does their son never bother with them or want anything to do with them in their lives. This is why, because you weren't there for them when they needed you, and you moved on to a new family, and kid noticed.
Yeah,
And that's awful. And I hope that kid is okay. And I hope him and his dad are thriving.
I do hope so too. I hope they're doing good. So, no, sir, you're not the asshole.
Definitely not the asshole. All right. So I'm up for the next one. And I feel like after that last bit, we need something a little more lighthearted, we'll say.
Sure.
Because that was a little deep. That was a little traumatic for me. And I hope anyone who's listening is keeping track of all the reasons I need therapy. And why I started a podcast instead.
It's gonna be a long list.
It's fine. Yeah, you might want to get like a scroll. It's more than just like a sheet of paper. Okay.
Feathered pen.
Oh yeah, write it. Keep the list. So I want like a quill. The whole. I want the aesthetic set up.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm going for. All right, Al.
Okay.
Am I the asshole for ruining a coffee table? And you make that face, but like I read this story. I can hear the noises you're gonna make. Maybe you'll keep it off the mic, but the faces, the noise, I can picture it.
Coffee table?
Am
This is
I
why
the
people
asshole
go
for
on Reddit?
ruining a coffee? Do you know what a coffee table is?
Yeah, but
Okay.
on Reddit, this is why we're gonna come up for a
This is
coffee
it.
table.
Am I the asshole for ruining a coffee table?
This is the dilemma people are facing nowadays. We
Oh,
have
this is gonna take a turn that you are not expecting. You ready?
okay.
You ready?
Let's go.
He's not ready.
I'm not ready.
He's not ready.
Sure.
Okay. I could use some help in this situation since it's currently creating a small rift in our family. I'll elaborate on some of the details so it makes sense. I have been really into natural body oils for the last several years. After years of not feeling well, I was told that the body has natural oils that heal itself over time. The problem is most people don't let these oils form and get rid of them in various ways, one of which is constant hand washing and showering. Do you see where this is going yet? So I decided several years ago to cut down. I shower about once a month, sometimes once every 2 to 3 months. There it is. There's that face. There's those noises I was waiting for.
I listen. As a man, I know how much a man can stink, and the fact I was like once a week. I'm like, okay, you're pushing it.
Oh, honey, just wait. It gets worse because you're assuming this is a man.
No, I know it's a woman. I know it's a woman.
Yeah.
But I'm saying as a man, just
Yeah.
as a man, like I don't know. I feel like men are stinkier than women.
Okay, so shower every 3 months. I let my body essentially tell me when it's time to shower. Our bodies are very intuitive and they will let us know in subtle ways when it's time to do certain things. So I tend to have naturally oily skin and my skin looks and feels great. My husband was actually skeptical about this, but now he's completely on board and sometimes will go showering for even longer than me. Yeah, so if she's doing it once a month, once every 2 to 3 months, how long was he doing? 2 showers a year? So, on to the heart of the story. We were visiting his sister last week for a small get-together, just to catch up with each other. We always tend to get along. I took my slippers off and was barefoot most of the time there. Nothing was said at the time, so I thought, no big deal. They're just feet. I eventually just put them up on the coffee table when I was taking a nap. I was there alone for a bit while the rest of them went for a drive to get some groceries. His sister was going to put together a meal for all of us. She's a great cook. They came back. Nothing really out of the ordinary happened. She cooked. We had a nice meal together. Casual conversation all throughout. But we got a mean phone call the next day about foot marks all over their apparently very expensive table. I saw some marks on it when I was there, but I thought they would just go away in a couple of hours. It seems, according to the sister, that there are foot marks all over one side of the table. She surprisingly asked for some money to cover the repair expenses. Here's where I may have crossed the line, but I'm not sure. I told her the foot marks were probably mostly just temporary and the oils from my skin are natural and probably good for the wood. She hung up the phone at that point and now is refusing to speak to us. Am I the asshole?
Oh God.
So is she the asshole for ruining this coffee table?
She's both her and the husband.
Al needs a minute.
They need a...
He's not
Okay.
okay.
Okay, listen. There was a thing in school when I was in college, right? I did animation.
Mhm.
We were all sitting down in chairs in front of a room filled with computers. Very hot. Off the bat.
Yeah.
It's a very hot room.
Gross.
Our professor either didn't believe in deodorant or probably thought essential oils from the body was good. But you know how awful it is when you're there and you're like, sir, I need some help. And they go over to you like this.
Oh no,
Or they reach
not.
over you
Oh
and
no,
they're
not
like,
the reachy armpit.
here. And you're like,
You just want to die at that point.
and you're like, oh, please let this be a quick one.
Oh
Please
no.
let this be a quick one. You didn't want to invite him over because you're like, can I hold my breath that long or will I suffocate? You know?
You're just
And
gonna.
you're trying not to be rude. You're not going to be
Yeah.
like, excuse me, can you put some deodorant on? That's rude.
Yeah, but I mean, I, I
The fact that you're,
I leave it. Just
the
your
fact that-
faces are so much.
but the fact that your body left a mark
Like a greasy,
wood.
greasy footprints all over the wood.
on wood, and this wood was probably, what's it called?
Like finished.
Yeah.
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 They put a finish on wood for a reason. And your essential oils ate probably through that. That's probably what the mark is. It was like, well, that finish
Yeah,
is gone.
and to clarify, like when we're saying essential oils, these aren't like the pyramid scheme oils that Karen up the street sells. These are like just secreting from this woman's body.
It's,
Yeah, they're the most natural of natural oils.
the word secretion just made it worse. It made
Secrete.
it. No.
We got to take a break. Al's gonna throw up. Can we just jump to it? She's the asshole, right? Is she the asshole?
I'll fight anybody who thinks she's not. All right?
So yeah, we'll just take a break here so Al can go vomit and bleach his brain.
Okay. All right. So now that we've moved on from that,
Al needed a minute.
yeah, no, it just brought me back to college all over again. And I'm not a happy camper. So this next, am I the asshole for refusing to change one of my students' diapers outside of school hours?
Oof.
When I first read this, I was like, what grade are we talking about? Because
It's not even that. It's why, if the teacher's no longer responsible for the child, why,
like,
where
what
are
do
the
you mean
parents?
by like outside of school hours? Like, oh, it's 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
My
this.
job's done.
I'm so I'm
Because there's teachers who unfortunately have to work a little bit after
Yeah.
the kid comes up to you, and I don't know. Maybe a parent's late to pick up the kid. I feel
yeah.
like
I'm always like I need the context because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
at first I'm like, well, if she's if the teacher's off the clock, then where are the parents coming to
Yeah.
get the kid? But at the same time, I don't think it's right to leave a kid in a soiled diaper. So this could get interesting.
Here's the story. Hi everyone. She's a 24-year-old female. She works full time at a daycare with younger preschoolers. So we're talking about like really
Preschoolers, so it's at like 4-ish,
I think so.
4-ish, 2 to 4,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with
So
that.
a few of whom are still in diapers. The other day, I was at a huge barbecue with some friends from high school, and the friends of their parents were also there. I ran into one of my preschoolers and her mom and chatted with her for a little while. After a few minutes, the mom said that her kid's diaper was dirty and asked if I could change it
This is at a party.
at a party.
Okay.
This is not even like in school.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's a weekend. I thought she was joking, so I laughed and made a joke about how I only change diapers when I'm on the clock. Her friends that she was sitting with all kind of laughed awkwardly, but she looked at me dead serious and said, "No, really, I don't change diapers."
This is the mother of the child.
The mother of the child.
Oh boy.
I felt really awkward, but just said, no, sorry, and went to walk away. But then she started explaining to me that her husband is the only one who changes diapers because she's a germaphobe and has a metaphobia. I don't know if I said that correctly.
Well, we'll just
Fear
go
of
with it.
throwing up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. For those of you who don't know, because I didn't know what the hell that meant. And she's only done it a few times has a uh when she absolutely had to, and she always threw up after, which apparently she has a crippling fear of doing.
Interesting.
Yeah. It. I mean, I'm not gonna judge anybody because I have a phobia. So
Yeah, I mean, some phobias can be legit.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I felt that regardless of the circumstances, it was inappropriate for her to ask me this, so I said no again. She seemed really shocked by this and continued to explain how much she hates changing diapers and how her husband wasn't here, so he couldn't help. I just told her that I don't like uh, changing them either, and I think it's inappropriate for her to keep pushing this when I have already told her no. She then said it's devastating to me to learn my daughter's favorite teacher has so little empathy. And after that, I just walked away. A few minutes later, I saw her putting the kid in the car and leaving, so I assumed she went to wherever her husband was to have him do it. I texted my boss to tell her what happened because I am about to go on vacation and I assumed that the mother would say something to her about it. My boss just told me that I could tell her about it in more detail when I get back, and she'd let me know if the mom said anything to her, but it seemed like I was in the right in saying no. I don't think I'm the asshole in this situation. Um, I am not her employee, and even if I was, I still think that's not something you should ask someone to do outside of work hours. I did not know this mom well at all. We rarely talk at pickup or drop off, and she was sitting at a table of her friends who I presume know about her situation and would have been better people to ask for help.
and there it is.
I think if she would rather let her kid sit in a dirty diaper for the car ride home instead of changing it herself, she shouldn't be going places without her husband. The only part of this that makes me feel a little bit like an asshole is the fact that the kid had to sit in their own poop for the car ride home. I just assumed that once I left, she would either ask one of her friends or suck it up and do it herself. So, is she the asshole?
She is not the asshole. Few things there. Let's unpack it.
Okay,
Let's unpack.
it's okay.
We're not going to diminish the mom's phobias or issues with vomit, poop, germs, whatever. We're not going to dismiss that. However, this woman was at a party, not school, nothing school related, with a table full of her personal friends. So, if I'm in a situation where I have an issue, am I going to ask somebody who's almost a complete stranger, or am I going to ask a friend?
And we get it. It's her job to do it while they're in preschool.
Well,
But
that's the second part. This woman, this mom, very clearly looks at the teacher as the help. She sees this woman as, well, that's what she does. That's her job. It's not my job. It's her job to deal with this sort of thing, even though she's not at work. But that was I mean, why else would you ask this teacher instead of your friends?
I might say something rude.
Oh, go for it.
If you have a phobia of this kind of stuff, maybe
Say
having a
it.
kid, maybe having a kid isn't the best
Yeah,
idea.
because like,
You know? Like, if you can't see people vomiting, maybe having a kid isn't a good idea because the first
yeah, like
8 years.
if you're a germaphobe, and like, again, don't come for us, you can have kids, whatever, but if you're a germaphobe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but kids are little germ magnets. They're gonna put their fingers in their nose, down their pants, they're gonna touch things, they're gonna peel gum off of chairs. Kids are gross. They are objectively
They're
gross.
gonna sneeze and
And
snot's just gonna.
like, you're going to be holding your cute little kid and it's going to sneeze in your open mouth. That's what kids do. That is why I choose not to have any.
If you're lucky, the worst part is that they're gonna sneeze on your mouth.
Yeah, they could. What if the
Throw
kid
up.
throws up in their mouth?
Yeah.
And you also, like, what? God forbid, what if something happens to her husband? What if he's sick, or he decides that he's tired of her crap and moves on? Like, what is she going to do? Just never take care of the kid?
Yeah. I don't know. Don't put yourself in a situation you have no control over.
Yeah. Or don't
That's
put yourself in a situation where you know you're going to have a problem.
right.
And that's,
Like, did she know that teacher was gonna be there? Because if
yeah,
not, what
what
were
would
you
have she
gonna do?
done?
You're gonna let your kid just sit?
Yeah. And that's not to say that, um, people with issues, medical conditions, disabilities shouldn't have access to things. That is not what we're talking about here. But if you are a germaphobe, if you have an issue with dirty diapers and you have an issue with throwing up or whatever it may be, and that sort of thing, and your husband is the only person who can take care of your kid, don't go to a party with your kid in a diaper without your husband. Because then what are you going to do? And like Al said, if that teacher wouldn't have been there, what are you going to do? Because why couldn't she ask one of her friends?
I think she needs closer friends.
Yeah, like, I mean, if I'm having an issue with something, I'm not gonna go to like a coworker that I see, a couple times a week or, whatever it may be. I'm gonna go to my close friend and say, "Hey, I have a problem. Can you help me?"
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously the friends would probably better understand her issues. Unless, unless, unless the issue she is saying to the teacher is something she's using as an excuse to not have to change her diaper.
If that's the case, which I hope
She's a
it's not.
super mega like asshole.
Yeah. No.
Because that could be why the friends weren't stepping up. They were like, haha, we're going to make the teacher do it, which I think they were doing regardless of the situation.
I just don't get it. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, would you change your friend's child's diaper?
I would enjoy it, but if it needed to happen, yeah. Like I don't like that sort of thing, which is
No.
why I don't have kids. Um, but like if you magically had a child and were incapacitated or for whatever reason and that child needed to have their diaper changed, I'm not just going to let it sit there. That's rude. But if you were like we were somewhere and like whatever and you picked like a random person that you've met twice, and expect that person to change your kid's diaper
It's a difference.
and not expect me to do
No.
it or not ask me to do it, that would be a completely different thing.
And this is why I give kudos to my mom, because my mom, and this happens sometimes where parents will go to parties with their kids and expect everyone else to take care of the kid because it's party time for mom and dad. My mom went to parties and she would be having fun. She'd be talking to people, and she'd always keep an eye on me.
Hmm.
I could be in another room playing games, innocent, nothing, no, like, oh, jumping around, breaking stuff, just playing games. She'll literally stop what she's doing, go over, check up on me, be like, everything good? I'll be like, or sometimes I wouldn't even respond to her because I've been playing games, and then she'll, like, bother me or whatever. But my mom never went to a party expecting other people to take care of her kid. She always took care of her kid.
Because that's called being a parent.
It's the sacrifices that you make.
But that happened to me at my well, like me being a, a girl at the time. If you're at a gathering and you're like that 15 to whatever age female, it's like automatically expected you're going to watch the kids. And I'm like, bet I'm not. And I'll give my mother credit. She's like, yeah, don't leave your kids with her because I am not a child person.
Yeah.
And even at my own graduation party, at my own home, somebody from my father's side of the family, he had so many relatives, like his sisters, like all like husband swapped. I
Yeah.
can't even tell you which one it was. This woman walks in, looks at me and says, "Oh, okay." Hands me a baby and like goes off to get a drink at my own graduation party.
Oh man.
Like, what is the thought process? Like, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? Like, I don't want this. Like I can't imagine just expecting somebody else to just do your parent stuff for you like that.
Yeah, no.
And we don't dislike, like, I know I don't dislike kids, but like, and kids seem to be drawn to me for some reason.
I don't like it.
like I had that kid tried to run off and join our pirate crew at the Ren Fair.
I don't like kids.
But I don't have an issue with kids. I can communicate with kids, but I don't want to have to deal with this sort of thing, especially if I don't know your kid.
If a
Like,
kid comes up to me, I'm just like,
that's why Al dresses like a scary
Um,
pirate, so
I'm
they
just
don't
gonna
talk
walk
to him.
away. They could come up to me like, "Hi," and I'll be like,
But
"I'm
Al is
gonna walk
never
this way
actually
now."
mean to a child.
No, I'm not.
No, he would
No.
never actually be mean.
I just,
Um,
just because I don't like him doesn't mean I have to be an asshole. I
Yeah.
just, just don't want to be.
But Al will not be changing anybody's diaper at a party.
No.
Yeah. No.
Mm-mm. You know what? I'll pick up dog shit any day. You want me to pick up your dog shit in your own backyard? Whatever. Not changing diapers. Sorry. No.
But if it was like your own kid, I know this is horrible to think about. You would change your own kid's diaper. I would hope. Which
It's
is
called being a father.
Which is why
It's your responsibility.
you don't have kids.
That's definitely a big one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, no, that teacher,
That teacher's not the asshole.
not the asshole. No.
No.
Especially especially since the mom's
That
friends
mom?
were there.
That mom.
The-
You need a
Yeah.
just.
Mom is the asshole. Mom's friends are the asshole. The anybody who is calling the teacher the asshole is the asshole. Like
I hope
anybody.
she's gonna lose her job over this because that's stupid.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Like I truly hope that her boss has her back on this.
What you do at your job and what you do on your own time, two very different things. Okay, just because you're a teacher and you're there for your students and you take care of them, and you decide over the weekend I'm gonna be completely wasted and make a fool of myself. Personal life, work life,
Mhm.
very different. If you're a-okay at work, that's all that should matter to anyone. Like if say I had a kid and I left them over at the daycare of their teachers or whatever, and then I go on Facebook, and on the weekend she's just like surrounded by guys, just like chugging beer and making a complete fool of herself. I don't care. As long as she doesn't do that in front of my kid, I don't care. Why
Okay.
should I care though?
I'm gonna throw the match at you here
Okay.
onto the kinder. Okay, so you,
Mm-hmm.
a person of color.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make an assumption your child is a person of color.
Okay.
And then she goes on Facebook and starts talking about how, she's a white supremacist. Does that still apply?
If she takes care of my child with respect,
So you wouldn't care that a violent racist.
if she takes care of my child with respect, if she is doing her job, she could hate my child just because of his skin color. But it's like, hey, don't eat that dirt, or don't shove your pencil up your nose.
So you're
Or,
okay
oh,
with
that the child
you're
is.
okay with teachers going on Facebook as long as they are allegedly doing their job. They can be a racist. They could be a homophobe.
I think there's a limit.
Yeah.
There's obviously a limit. Like, it's not like, oh, my teacher committed murder, but she's great with my kid. Obviously.
Yeah, because I'm like,
obviously.
yeah, like
no.
I find it hard to believe that even if you saw a teacher that wasn't with your own kid,
Right.
who was out there spewing hateful rhetoric
Right.
on social media.
But there's
Yeah.
I feel like there's a difference between spreading hateful things and then actually like, hey, I convinced this guy to sign a bill to make all these colored people pay. And I'd be like, wow.
I mean that I did say a white supremacist, like not like just a casual like I voted for somebody you don't like. I mean
Yeah.
like a
like if there's
hateful
someone
person.
that's actually doing harm, there's a difference between going out partying and having the best time
Yeah.
of your life compared to I hate people and I wish they'd die. At that
Yeah.
point, you'd be a little concerned. You'd be like, "Oh, is my kid safe?"
Yeah, because
But we're
I'll
talking
guarantee your
about-
kid's not
But I'm
safe with
talking
that
about
person.
what that person's doing with their own
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
If they want to be completely fucking wasted, if they want to,
Or there's I don't know if it was I think it was a preschool. I think it was a preschool teacher. I'm not 100%, but she would post on Instagram like when she would travel, or she would post pictures like, oh, here I am in my bikini, like having a drink by the pool. Nothing wrong with that, she's
every
whatever.
day, whatever.
But she got I think she ended up getting fired because she was posting indecent photos on the internet. Like, are there not bigger issues in the world than a teacher on her well-deserved vacation, like taking a bikini photo in Mexico?
It's like they're still working even though they're not.
Yeah, and that's not entirely fair. Like
No,
there
it
is
isn't.
there's a
Absolutely
line.
not.
There's
Yeah.
a line.
Yeah.
But
Killing somebody, probably crossing
yeah,
that line.
or even saying, "Hey, I think it's okay to drive my truck through a horde of protesters." Not okay.
Yeah, at that
Um,
point, you're like, this
yeah,
person's,
because then you have to question. It's like maybe on paper, well, yeah, they're taking care of my kid, but do you really know what's going on
right,
in that classroom?
right.
And I know I know just me personally, like working with animals. If I go somewhere, like especially like the hair salon or anything like casual, and they're like, "What do you do for work?" I try to make it as vague as possible because I don't want to hear about your animal's problems. I'm not at work right now. Please leave me alone. So I can only imagine what poor teachers go through because it's not just like one person having talked to you, it's like 20, 30, 100 kids, parents who just want to bother you and are feel
Yeah.
entitled to your time. So
Nope.
this
So
woman, this teacher, not the asshole. I hope her
didn't get
boss has her
fired.
back. Yeah.
I hope so.
I have to check
'Cause,
an update on that.
yeah,
See how that played out. But hopefully everything's okay with her because I do not think she did anything wrong.
yeah. I don't know if you have a phobia against throwing up, if you have a phobia against aggressive diarrhea, you just probably there's just some things that you weren't meant to do. And one of them's having a kid. Sorry, I might get negative feedback about it, but it's just my
Yeah.
opinion. I
Or
wouldn't
maybe
put
adopt
myself
an
in that
older kid
situation.
or adopt an older kid that's maybe out of the diaper stage, can control their vomit, get to the bathroom. You know.
Just don't put, or you know what, whatever, fine. You know, you have a phobia. Don't go out if you don't have somebody that can change your kid's diaper.
Yeah. Or even if she had maybe had that conversation previously, like, "Hey, I know we're going to be there. I have this really personal problem.
Right.
Do you think you could help me out?"
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'll
But
spot you 20,
yeah,
whatever.
just something nicer, like I'll buy you a drink, you know, kind of thing. Um, but the fact that she just felt entitled to that teacher's time
Oh,
and
that's the key
services.
word right there.
Oh yay,
Entitled.
entitlement. We love that word. Um, yeah, but not in the way the boomers like it. We use it for people like this who actually were entitled. Um, so yeah, no, definitely not that teacher, not the asshole. Everybody else, the asshole.
Yep.
The kid is also not the asshole. All right, so I think this is going to be our last one.
All right.
And I chose this one because I'm honestly interested to see what you're going to think about it.
I mean, the last one you were interested to see how I'd react, so now I'm scared.
No, cuz I think this is one where I could see you siding with the person who posted it.
I'm guessing you don't.
I absolutely do not.
All right, let's hear it.
But I could see you almost defending it in
Almost.
certain parts of it,
Okay,
certain parts.
sure.
Okay. Am I the asshole for how I handled the pizza creep? Okay? That's our title. Pizza, like pizza.
Creep,
Creep.
like
The pizza creep.
like
A creep with pizza.
crepe,
Creep. Like a creepy guy.
like I'm the
No, that's
creeper.
basically, but
Okay.
like a creeper,
Right.
like that kind of creeper.
Yeah, like Scooby Doo.
We'll just go with the story
Sure.
here. All right. I, 31 female, am a member of a group that convenes monthly to discuss current events. After our last meeting, somebody suggested getting pizza. One of our members lit up and said they knew a great place to get pizza, a small independent pizzeria. I'm all about supporting small businesses, so I agreed. I feel like if you say you're all about supporting small businesses, you probably don't. Like, I don't know. If you
Like
feel like the need, like if you need to say you're a nice guy, you're probably not.
like I shop at
Like,
Amazon every day. But
yeah,
I support small businesses.
yeah,
And I was like,
they're small packages. It's fine.
yeah.
When we arrived, the manager was very off. He greeted my fellow group member very enthusiastically. He called her something in Italian that sounded weirdly intimate. He led us to a table and then handed out menus. We ordered without issue, even though his vibes were very unsettling. After he left, I asked the group member who recommended the place if they knew him personally, and they said no. They said they just went to the pizzeria a lot and was friendly with the manager. Before our pizzas arrived, he brought us an order of garlic knots. None of us ordered garlic knots, and I tried to correct his mistake. He said that they were complimentary as a thanks for choosing his establishment. I thought this was very presumptuous. After he left, I mentioned to the table that I thought it was inappropriate to serve food that no one ordered. What if somebody was allergic? The group member said the knots were made from the same type of dough as the pizza that we all ordered, so there was no way anyone was allergic. Still, I did not have any. As Al rolls his eyes so hard that I can hear the noise. After our pizzas arrived, we ate without issue. The problem was when the bill arrived. No one was charged for their drinks, even though prices are listed on the menu. I pointed this out to the manager, to the annoyance of the group. He said it was a perk of being a regular. I said that I wasn't a regular, and he said he hoped I would decide to become one after today. At that point, I'd had enough. I said his behavior was creepy, and I asked for my bill to be fixed. He looked upset, but he took the bill. The other members of the group got annoyed with me. The one who had recommended the pizzeria was visibly angry, saying that I embarrassed them and potentially ruined the awesome discounts they get. I said that I felt uncomfortable with his overly familiar behavior and that the free food felt like a power play, a way to feel as though he had authority over us. They rolled their eyes and said I was ridiculous. Then they got up to go talk to the manager. They came back, slammed my new bill on the table, and then stormed out. I paid in cash and left quickly as well, as I felt uncomfortable. I've been thinking over the situation, and I can't think of anything I did wrong, but some other group members I texted said I went way overboard. Did I?
How blind is this person?
See, and like, I know you're weird when,
How
like,
full of yourself, full of yourself do you have to be to behave like this person's doing? How do you have friends?
so
I like.
when I said like I didn't know which way you were gonna go, I know sometimes you're like, oh, why is somebody doing something nice for me? And I so that's why I kind of threw it out there. Like, how would you feel if somebody but there are a lot of context
She's
clues
missing
here.
a cultural difference.
I don't
I feel
even know
like there was a cultural thing there that it was like knocking, and she didn't get it.
I don't even know if it's cultural or if it's just like obviously this guy owns a small business and just wants to be nice to some people.
Oh no! Even he said it was like, oh, the way he greeted her and
Yeah.
calling something in another language. And I was
Yeah.
just like,
What did he say?
it's probably
Bella, like
it's probably a culture thing. You complained about free food.
and free garlic knots at that. Who complains about free garlic
And
knots?
Dan was like, you don't know if anybody's allergic. I was like, if you're allergic, you shouldn't be eating here. Like, if I go to an Asian restaurant and I order food, right? And they serve me something and they're like, here, this is on the house. Oh, thank you. I'm allergic to this, so I can't eat it, but the thought's good. But maybe my friends might eat it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I probably won't even mention it. I'll probably be like, oh, I'm sorry, you guys can eat this. I can't.
Yeah, or
I'm
pack
not
it up
gonna
and
be
take
like,
it home.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, oh, I'm allergic to.
But and like they said, these were garlic. They ordered pizzas, which are the same dough as the garlic knots, and there's chances are there's garlic in those pizzas. What are they allergic to in the garlic knots?
It was just a poor excuse that she brought up because I'm assuming it's a she.
Yes.
Because, she's the center of the entire world and she makes the moon revolve around her.
Like I almost wonder, like if something.
I don't know why'd you think I would even.
Well, it wasn't. That's part of it. Like the part where like you wouldn't want to accept something free.
I, me personally, if someone was like, just like if I was just sitting somewhere and they're like, here, have this, I was just like, I'm, no, no, I'll pay for it. Thank you. I didn't order this. I'm not going to complain. I was like, I didn't order this. I'm not paying for it. If someone was like, here, have some this for free, I'd be like, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a very kind offer. I would still like to pay for this. Like, I will.
Do you understand how that's insulting?
Huh?
Do you understand how that's very insulting?
It might be insulting, but you also have to understand that if from a cultural aspect, it's how I was brought up. So it might be insulting for them, but it could be vice versa and be insulting for me that you're giving me free something when I
So
didn't request for it.
Here's an example.
Okay.
So there, where I grew up, the
Right.
place where I first worked when I was 12 years old,
Sure.
that my family knew for years, they have a restaurant, and when we would go and have dinner, the owner and the chef would send out a plate of appetizers because they knew me,
Right.
um, or knew my family. They'd send out appetizers. So let's say we go to this restaurant that I know the manager, the owner, and they come over and they're like, "Hey," and then they drop off these appetizers.
I'll do one better.
Well, no, like
Like,
how?
again, with the cultural difference, because this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is my concern is in some cultural differences. Doing one thing might be good and might be seen as good thing coming from one culture and might be insulting from the other culture.
So I'm saying,
And switching it will also be you're gonna insult somebody no matter what.
Well, so
That's the thing.
in
It's
that
like nobody
situation,
wins because you're either gonna insult one side or you're gonna insult the other.
but in that situation, you would say that you would refuse to touch it and you'd insist on paying for it.
Not that I would refuse unless I'm allergic to it. I'm not gonna touch it. But if I'm not allergic to it, I'll eat it. That's fine. I'll pay for it. And if they kept saying no, I'm gonna leave an extra $10 that's not part of the tip or whatever. But in some way, shape, or form, I'm gonna pay for that, even if
See,
they refuse to charge me.
I guess that could just be my ignorance because, like, I just, it's never come up as a cultural thing in my personal
Right.
experience
So
where there is a culture who would, in that
yeah.
context, in that specific context, we're talking about, the manager or the person at a
Right. Right.
restaurant get a free appetizer kind of thing, who would be offended by that
Yeah.
situation.
So like
Like,
this is an example, and I'm not Asian. Nothing about me says I'm Asian. In some cultures, some Asian cultures, for example, it is very polite for you to slurp and be
yeah,
loud about it.
yes,
In my culture, it might be that's rude. You need to.
yeah, and like,
But in their culture,
mhm.
oh my God, they love the food. Vice versa, if someone from an Asian culture came to my restaurant and was slurping the food, they're trying to tell me this food is great. What I'm listening to is, wow, this guy is super fucking rude. Like, can't you just like eat that normally?
Yeah,
You see what I
well,
mean?
but I'm talking about this specific issue.
I get that, but it's
But like,
it's
I
still
guess
like
I've never, but
there's
I've
a
just,
cultural difference
so
sometimes that
could you
people don't realize that.
could you explain why in your culture that's considered rude?
I might not be my culture because again, I came here at a very young age, but
Is it more like
from
just
my
a family
father,
thing?
from my mother, from my uncle, that's why I'm thinking it's a cultural thing. We don't accept free things lightly. Not even between us.
Oh yeah, no.
Exactly. Like no, not between her and I, but like between me and my family.
Oh well, between us too. So
Yeah, between us. But like between me, like if I would try to be like, "Hey, uncle, here, this is for you." No, no, and we're like, "No, take it." And he'd be like, "No, no," and I feel like I'll just be.
see,
But you see
but
what I
here,
mean?
but
Like it's
this,
it's a family. It's not just a family thing. I feel like it's a cultural
well,
thing.
but
Like
now this is interesting because I, the first time I met your family, your mom, I'm gonna say your aunt, your aunts, your grandmom, when I came to a party
right,
and I purposely brought a bottle of wine for your mother
right,
and I brought stuff for the ladies and the ladies all seemed thrilled about it.
right.
Your mom, took it and
I
no
think the
argument
difference was
whatsoever.
everybody was bringing stuff. So the fact that you brought something for our people too, they were like, "Oh, that's very kind of you."
Well, like for your mom, I specifically brought her a bottle of wine and said, "Hey, it's nice to meet you. This is from me."
Yeah, I feel like that's a gift, and
Well, then,
it's. I feel like it's a difference when you're going to a place that you don't know these people, and there's someone telling me like, "Hey, this is like," for example, me and my friends went to eat at a pizzeria in New York City. We got offered something free. He wasn't being creepy. He didn't know
yeah,
anybody. It was just a kind gesture. Oh, thank you for eating here.
yeah.
I felt bad about it. I was like, "Ugh, mm, but
I've
whatever."
just never,
But
I
I've
like,
learned over the years. I've gotten better at it. Before, like I would fight you to the death. Like I'm not accepting this free shit. Like it's not happening. I've gotten better at it. But I feel like you got to understand that there's just some cultures out there that
well, I
you
mean,
don't know
that's something
how
like,
things because it's not really spoken about probably.
well, it is. I mean, I can feel like something like that could be so deeply insulting to people that I just, it's just crazy that I've never heard of it before. Um, I mean, there's different contexts for things, but like this particular type of situation, I've never heard of that. And that is something I would like to learn about more. Is it
Right.
just your family? Is it
I
a
don't know.
cultural thing from where you're from?
I thought it was like maybe it's just me and like my mother or between me and my father. And it's not like we don't give each other stuff. We do.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's not necessary and it's like don't. Like, there's absolutely no reason.
Yeah. But like I just I've never, and it can be my own ignorance, like I said, I've just never heard of a cultural thing where if somebody in your party is friendly with somebody who runs a restaurant and brings you like an appetizer or something and says thanks
Oh,
for coming.
100%. Like
Like
for
I've
example,
never heard of a culture having an issue with
well,
that.
for example, like
Like,
sometimes, in my country, there's like delis and stuff where
Hmm.
people go and drink, and sometimes the guy like pass somebody a beer, and
Yeah.
there was it will quickly turn into like a no, 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 let me pay for this, and they're like, no, it's fine. It was like, here's the money, like you're getting this money,
Do
you
you
know,
think, and I could be
and I don't
wrong,
drink beer,
I could be wrong
right,
here, but I'm talking on a cultural level, solely cultural, not you, not your
right,
family, cultural.
yeah,
Do you think that comes from either or a combination of an insinuation that you're too poor to pay for it, or that it's insulting for like a man? You have to assert that you're the man. That, oh no, you don't get, I'm going to give you that for free. Well, no, I want to pay for it. Well, no, I want to give it to you. Do you
it,
think
it,
that it
it
could
could
be a
be because
combination?
like I said, in my family view, back in the day, it was
Well, no, I mean, I'm
women.
talking culturally because I
Well,
know.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Culturally, in my family, back in the day, women did this and this and this, and man did
Well,
this. So could it be something where I'm a man and I'm? It could be. I don't know.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying talking on the like, I don't want to, I don't know if we're telling people where you're from yet, but
I
like,
don't guess.
okay, but like on a cultural level, like countrywide level, like, do you think that plays into it? Because
It could be. I don't know.
if we can talk
I
stereotypes.
didn't. I didn't study. I
Well,
didn't
well,
go
I'm
to college
curious
and
now
was like,
because again, it seems like for me, like I can't wrap my head around it. So that's why I'm trying to like understand so I
right,
can better understand it. Because and if we can talk stereotypes, like we're talking stereotypes, the worst of the worst. Like
right,
make that clear, not necessarily what I believe.
right.
The people from your country, especially the men, tend to have a reputation
Mm-hmm.
for being like super macho.
Machismo.
The
Yeah,
machismo is like, oh, and I'm curious if maybe that plays into that in some way.
could be.
And like for the women, if they were to accept something free, would it the implication be that their man couldn't afford to get it for them? Like honestly, like I want to look into this because
I mean,
it's
there's
so out
nothing.
of left field for me.
There's nothing stopping you, to be honest. But
Yeah.
like, even between family, like, oh, if someone did something kind, they brought him something. Oh, they'll be like, oh, you shouldn't have, and they'll take it or whatever. But you can bet your ass that person is gonna visit them, like, and give them something. Be like,
I
oh, look, I made something for you, because it's just like, I don't know. It's just this like, they did this for me. Now I have to do this for them. And sometimes it may be just they want to avoid it altogether. I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, where this deep rooted thing comes from, but I've learned over the years that sometimes some mannerisms, it's not because, wow, this person's an asshole, but it's something that they're used to because of their culture. And when two cultures collide, somebody's going to end up being offended.
well, do you think that it's fair to say that there are certain things where if you are in a situation where cultures are mixing and you're be it a group of friends, a place you move, whatever it is, that you can't solely be focused on your culture, that there does have to be some give and take with
Who's
the
going
other.
to give and take?
Well, if you're especially if you're talking about friends, I mean, like if you have a group of friends, a diverse group of friends,
Right.
um,
Whose job is it to give, and whose job is it to take? Like, who's gonna ignore their culture and be like, I get it, I'm from a culture that doesn't allow this, but they want this, so I'm gonna set aside my culture for them. Who's gonna do it? I guess the bigger
well,
man or the better person.
it's not even that, but it's like if you, it's kind of like almost like a read the room kind of thing. Like to go back to the pizza thing, if you're out with, let's say, 8 friends,
Right.
and the 8 friends are like, wow, thanks, Bob, the pizza guy. This is great and so kind of you. And Bob's like, cool, enjoy, happy you're here.
If there's a majority, I think if only one person is off, I think people do read the room.
But
If
that's what I'm saying.
there's
Like
like
it's
if there's like 9 of us and 8 are good with it, and I'm gonna be like, I'm the only one
yeah.
that's not okay with this. I'm just gonna keep, like, I won't say anything. I won't even bring it up. I'll just be like, oh, thank you. I'm just gonna go. But if it's like one on one,
Well, if it is one on one, like at what point does it become where, oh, this is my culture, I'm not gonna budge, and what makes
it
that?
happens all the time here in America.
Yeah, it does. But I'm saying like it at what point do you have to say, okay, like this time I'll understand, like, where, like, because I feel like
Depends how hard headed you are. Sorry to put it so bluntly, but I feel like depends. It depends solely on how hard headed you are or how passive you are, and be like, you know what, it's fine. I'll let this slide. Like, I get it. Like, it's probably a culture thing. They probably do it all the time. It's fine. I don't like it, but it's fine. There's many times where I'm like, I don't like this, but it's fine. And there are times where I do not budge. Like, I am set in stone. I'm not giving in this time, you know? And it's a give and take.
you don't say.
Sometimes you have to, you have to be passive and be like, whatever, everybody's doing this. And then there are certain things, and it might not be on culture, it might be on an individual, where there are certain things that they will budge on and certain
No,
things that
it's
they won't.
absolutely fair.
Pick and choose your
But
battles, basically.
do you think it would then be fair that if there are things that you won't, like, I'm saying you just because we're talking, not, but whoever, because it can go the opposite way.
Right.
If there's a situation where a cultural difference, or even just a personal preference difference comes up, and do you think it's fair to say, hey, I'm not okay with this, I'm not comfortable with this, and here's why? Like, like, I'm not saying to strangers, but like somebody, a family member, a friend, an acquaintance, do you feel it's fair to be like, hey, this is why I'm not okay with it? So, because knowing, this is a big caveat, knowing that by you refusing or not doing anything, it could be insulting to the other person. Do you think it's fair that you should say, hey, but this is why?
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't, but it all depends if the other person gives a fuck.
And that's fair.
They
But if it's
might
one of
not
those
give a
things
fuck.
where,
It's
like,
just, there might be set in stone. It said, that's nice, but I don't care. Like, in my last relationship, there was some culture differences, and I can't remember exactly what it was that I was like, oh, if you don't do this, that's rude. And I'm like, really? Because I feel like if I do this, I am being rude. It really depends. This isn't, because I've never dated within my culture. I have had instances where I'd be like, "Oh, no, 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 thank you so much for the kind offer, but no." And then people would be like, "Hey, that's kind of rude," and I'm like, "I'm trying to give you small hints that this is kind of rude, and I don't want to be put in this situation. Like, you're putting me in a situation that makes me feel uncomfortable." And for me saying, no, thank you, I'm being rude. Just for me saying no, thank you, I'm being rude. While you're not realizing, hey, you're kind of putting me in a position that makes me very uncomfortable, and I would rather not be in this, because then I'm going to associate with this person's family. Like, yeah, if I'm here, I'm going to be put in awkward situations, and I don't like that. Again, when cultures clash, not all the time, but when some cultures come together, someone's bound to be offended
it's
for
kind,
innocent things too.
yeah, but it's kind of adorable how we're both refusing to, like, actually bring each other into this conversation, because obviously we have gone around on some of these issues, and for the most part, like, I feel like we've gotten a better understanding of where we both come from.
Right.
um because I'm very much like, if I can help, if I can do something, let me, because I know that you will help me in another way.
Right.
Because I believe in, like, I'm just gonna pick something out of thin air. If I'm like, hey, let's go do this thing, and that's gonna be my treat, to know that, like, you're gonna come to my house and help me, like, unload a pallet of dog food,
Right.
for the rescue dogs. Um, because, like, that's worth so much to me. Like, and it's not like we're, like, keeping score, because I don't do that. I
Right.
refuse to do that. But because there were times where it was like, no, I can't do anything, but you would still be willing to help. You would still obviously always be willing to help me
Yeah.
or do something for me. But they'd be like, oh, let me do a thing, and you're like, no. But
Fuck you.
but obviously we've had some blow ups over that sort of thing. But I think it actually made us better at talking through those things. So,
It's just a matter of communicating, getting to know
you know.
people's life.
And I think, for
Where
the
they come
most
from.
part, we
Yeah.
kind of, and, like, sometimes I'll ask, be like, okay, I need you to tell me
Yeah.
why you're thinking this
But
way.
that's the
You know,
thing about being from different cultures, but stepping into a whole new culture together, is you're kind of, over the years, you learn, this isn't my culture, and I have to give these things up. And it's pretty sad because there's some things that I feel like it shouldn't be given up, but some cultures do.
Well, I would it's hard because like
Because you're in
things
America now, and
I,
no offense, but
I mean
a
you're not
lot
wrong.
of other cultures once they're here,
Their culture gets
they're
wiped away.
so many times over and over again going, you're in America, you're in America, you're in America. We do things different in America, and sadly, there are beautiful things that other cultures have that I'm like, man, I wish I could experience this. They won't do it here in America. I actually have to go to another country to experience this
Yeah.
because it's been, you know, slammed down their throat so
Yeah, or
many times that,
whitewashed, whatever
yeah,
word you want to use.
pretty much.
It's
So
yeah.
it's sad.
And it's like I try I I'm not I fail at it sometimes, but I do try to be respectful of other cultures. I know when um like if I'm gonna go spend time with your family, like I'm asking like what can I bring something? What can I do? Like whatever, because I don't wanna, put my foot in my mouth and like do something awful or upset somebody. Um, but I think it's when you have a diverse group of friends or a diverse family even, um, like you can't one person's side of things can't take over. And I think a lot about like just to use an example, um like Indian weddings. Cuz I used to work in the wedding industry. That was my super secret job. Um and like when you would see an Indian wedding and the bride and the groom, maybe they're both Indian, but they'll have groomsmen or bridesmaid. And at that point it's like for a white person, you're looking at, oh, I'm going to wear like my regular bridesmaid gown. No, you're going to follow their cultural traditions. You're going to have their food and their traditions and their clothing, and that's how it should be. Um, but then it's like if you have maybe a white bride and then an Indian husband, you have to kind of find that happy medium. And I think the nicest thing, the most beautiful thing, to be corny, is when you can actually find that balance between the two cultures.
Right.
Like either celebrate twice or take this tradition and mix it with this tradition and make your own tradition.
Right.
Um, and sometimes things like that. It's like it's instead of disregarding somebody's culture, it's almost like you're expanding on it. And that doesn't apply to everything. That can apply to everything, but I feel like the people who are more open to at least empathizing and understanding where other cultures come from, be it cultures or religions too. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but
Sadly, America has gotten this label, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, America has gotten this label where we're in America, we don't do these things here, and it's a shame
yeah,
because I feel like America has so much potential to bring a lot of cultures together and pull interesting things from them, and learn. There's things that you will never learn in America that you will learn in other countries, just because it's just it's not America's thing.
well, it's like you'll have with Americans, they'll have these other cultures or other nationalities, whatever it may be, come in, and Americans will cherry pick what they like and just trash the rest of it. Um, I'm gonna. I know it's a little different, but for example, indigenous people,
Hmm.
they were here first, fully acknowledges. But then you have like the settlers come in, and even to this day, they will disregard everything about their culture, but they think the headdresses are pretty. So they're going to take that, bastardize it, and disregard everything else about their culture, have no respect for their culture, their religion, their beliefs,
Yeah,
and it's awful. And I feel like that happens quite a bit,
yeah,
with
yeah.
all sorts of
That's one of those things that I was glad that I brought it up to you because, you know, we talk about tattoos sometimes, and
Mhm.
I had this idea where I was like, I've always wanted to get a tattoo, I just don't know what, and I don't want to do my own art on me because I'll just end up hating it a month later. And it's kind of permanent, so you're stuck with it. But I was like, you know what? I'll just let someone else do their own design on me because I can appreciate somebody else's art more so, for even a long period of time. But I was like, what'd be cool? I've worked with so many animals. I'm gonna get a what was it? A totem
totem
of
pole.
animals.
Mhm.
And me not knowing, but you were like,
Eh.
you might want to learn a little more about that and see if you can. And I was just like, wasn't offended, wasn't taken aback. We were like, oh, actually, that's that makes sense. Like, I don't know their culture. Maybe I
Yeah.
might be offending them for doing something like
And
that.
and to be honest, the only reason I knew that, because when I was a kid, there's a theme park that I visit often, um, that used to have a
We're not sponsored
we're
yet.
not sponsored, well, um, that used to have a kids play area
Right.
that was Wild West themed, and it had teepee and it had totem poles, and it wasn't until and that was normal to me growing up. It wasn't until I was much older and I went to actually the Field Museum in Chicago, and they have a beautiful section on the Pacific Northwest indigenous people. And when I went there, most of it was boarded over because all of those artifacts were taken illegally. And they had these beautiful totem poles. And because of all the information they had about how they acquired these artifacts, what they actually stood for, that's when I was educated and went, oh no, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And I know we did talk about like your tattoo idea, which I think, it would be beautiful, but and I think we talked about maybe looking into some native art from where you're from.
Right.
Which seems like you could incorporate some different animal designs in that style. So
Some. Yeah.
some,
Yeah.
it just depend. But
Right.
so yeah, I mean, and that's the big thing, like educate, like the willingness to learn. Like you can screw up or overstep, but if you take the time to actually educate yourself and at least try to understand where other
Yeah.
cultures, other people are coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. We went way
Way off
far from the
topic,
subject,
but it was a good topic.
but yes, lady, you're the asshole.
Yeah, and Al,
Sorry.
I just I truly respect you and where you're from and your family and your customs. If you ever turn down free garlic knots in my presence, oh, we gonna fight. We
I guess
gonna
we're gonna
fight.
fight. We'll record it and put it up so people can see.
They're garlic knots.
Yeah.
They're delicious.
But anyways,
And
yeah.
I'm a
No.
fat girl. I want my free garlic knots.
And read the room, like you
Yeah.
say. Read the room. If your friends are like, you're fucking this up, you know.
Yeah, like that. This lady was completely out of line, and I don't feel like. And again, there's not enough context, but it doesn't sound like there was like a serious cultural difference here. It sounded like she was just feeling a little
Oh no,
too much of herself.
there wasn't a cultural difference.
Yeah.
There was a culture coming from the owner.
Yeah. Like I'm
And
picturing
she
like
was just offended by it because I don't know, she's stuck up.
I'm
I
just
don't know.
picturing like a jolly old Italian man with a mustache. Like these are my grandchildren now. I'm gonna give them some, some garlic
he's
knots.
coming. People are coming into his restaurant and he's treating them like family.
Yeah. And that's a big thing with it. Like if you've ever been to a family-owned Italian restaurant, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And that's like the restaurant I was staying to, if that they're a family-owned Italian restaurant. So, with seafood, of course. But.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming over and listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have fun. And,
Yeah.
like I said, we always want to hear people's opinion.
Yeah. So, we'll have links down below. You can find us on all major social medias. We actually have a WhatsApp. You can go ahead and text us if you'd like. If you wouldn't mind keeping the hate to like a minimum, I'm very fragile. That would be great. Direct it towards Al if you have to. But yeah, find us wherever you want. If there's anything you want to hear us talk about or any topics you think might be interesting, let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.